It is highly likely that Manchester United's wonderkid striker, Chido Obi Martin, is going to be involved in Ruben Amorim's first team setup sooner or later. What's his profile as a player? What can he do on the pitch? Without any further ado, let's analyze. All right, let's get started. So what is the holy trinity of every striker? Every striker has to be deadly in the box. Every striker has to be fast so that they can threaten the opposition in behind. And every striker has to be technical or physically strong in order to bring others into play. And Chido Obi Martin combines all of those qualities together. So here first, let's start about how he brings others into play. So for example, here in this sequence, he controls the ball. There is this space right here where the Manchester United players can exploit and threaten the opposition. And so Obi Martin positions himself in a position where he has the game in front of him. But also, this positioning that he has is designed to just maximize the speed of play. And that's definitely something that is extremely important, especially with the way Manchester United right now, everything is kind of lethargic, everything is predictable. But anyway, he plays this pass in through ball, and because he plays it fast and accurately, it's just the right pass, we are in a situation where we have 3 Manchester United players in the opposition box, and we can threaten them. Here's an even better example against Preston North End. So he collects the ball again, but here, of course, he is dragging this right-sided centre-back with him, which leaves this space right here. So now, again, very good passing and awareness of where his teammates are. That's very important in every striker that tries to involve others into play. And then again, same thing, we do have 3 Manchester United players in the box, and we were able to score this goal. Now, of course, his ability to bring others into play is not just outside the box, it's also inside the box. So here in this sequence, he just collected the ball from a throw-in. And then, of course, he's using his body, but also his technique, this was against Everton, to just hold up the ball. And then what he's doing here is that he has dragged these 3 Everton players towards him, therefore freeing up these 2 Manchester United players in the box. That's a very dangerous situation. And of course, we were also in a very good attacking situation. Now, let's talk about how he's able to attack the spaces in behind the opposition defense. So here, first of all, he started off in this zone right here, of course, because his first instinct is to always drop into these open areas in order to be involved in the play. What you notice about Obi Martin when you watch him is that he moves incessantly, and that's great, okay? He wants to be involved in different phases of play. So on the first level, he was here, but then he quickly realized as the phase of play started evolving that, of course, the biggest impact he could have in this sequence is not here, but further upfield. So he makes a long busting run. That's a beautiful sprint, and he keeps going because he knows that this is the area that he needs to target. As you can see here with his arm, he's gesturing to his teammate to play a through ball into space. And of course, the moment he gets set, and then of course, there is only one outcome, and it's a finish. And he can finish, by the way, with his left foot and his right foot. He's extremely lethal in these kind of situations. So this was a game for the Danish under-17 team. I think this was in the under-17 Euros. Against Wales, Denmark collects the ball, they win the ball back. And then here again, he identifies the space in behind, and then his run is just excellent. He's extremely pacey. He can cover a lot of ground in a short amount of space. But also what I like about this is just the composure to go around the keeper. You don't see this a lot with young players. Sometimes they're just too eager to just take a shot. Composure is definitely an attribute that develops with age and with experience. But here, of course, Obi Martin is already showing it at a very young age. And so here is another example. Now, this is actually a pretty good sequence from Chido Obi Martin that I like. So obviously he's trying to target this half space right here. That's where the space is. But of course, he also has to be wary of not going too far wide, because the wider he is, the further away he is from the areas where he can truly threaten the opposition. So what he does here is, of course, he wants to peel off and peel away from the opposition to move into this space. But again, like I said, he has to be careful not to stray too far. So what he does now is that once he collects the ball, he's going to do a zigzag pattern that enables him to come closer to the goal while at the same time getting further from the defender, and that's just great. What he does is come inside and then outside to create an angle of a shot, and it's such a good intentional move from him. And again, it just shows his intelligence as a player, and for a player that young, it's kind of rare, okay? Now, also, there's another quality to Obi Martin, and it's his technical ability and his ability to hold up the play. Here again against Preston, it's very important if you want to give control of the game to your team. It's very important that certain phases of play, when your teammates are trying to get organized, it's very important to have players who can either carry the ball forward dribble with it into space, or forward players who can actually hold up the ball, as is the case here with Chido Obi Martin, and that gave his teammates the time and the opportunity to position themselves where they are supposed to be without losing the ball. That way they can just start a build-up phase again. This was a goal against the Czech Republic, and the key thing that I want to highlight here is that Chido Obi Martin also has a knack for those fine, I'll do it myself kind of moments where he can score goals out of nowhere. Just take the ball and collect it in a position where he's not really that threatening, and then just create a goal-scoring chance. Here, for example, that turn again, same thing that we saw in that Preston sequence where he was holding up the ball in order to allow his teammates to move further up the pitch. And then here, he comes in inside, just easily, seamlessly dribbles past the players, and then that's a goal. The goalkeeper should have done better, but still, I think that Obi Martin deserved a goal from that sequence. Here's another one. Okay, so this was against Everton. Again, he identifies this space into the deep areas. By the way, that I don't know if you saw it. Maybe some of you are gonna call me crazy or that I'm overanalyzing things, but pay attention to his first touch here. Look at that. That's extremely important, because by doing that first touch, it's such a seamless first touch. It's so subtle, but it just keeps the momentum going in for him, and it just keeps that velocity, that speed of execution that doesn't really give the Everton defense much of an opportunity to organize themselves. And so here, of course, he has a lot to do. He has to dribble past the players, take a shot, but still, how did he get himself into that position? That's what matters. But here is an even better sequence against Preston. By the way, he was devilish against Preston. And here he's in 1v1 situation. I think that's a nutmeg. Maybe it is. The footage is a little bit grainy, so I'm not quite sure. But, I'm a sucker for nutmegs. But he has a knack for them, okay? And then now he can drive forward into the defense and then opens up his body, opens up the shot, beautiful shot into the side netting. All right, so clearly from this analysis, you can see that Chido Obi Martin is a highly talented young prospect. There is also a reason why he's highly rated and why Jason Wilcox moved extremely fast to poach him. Oh, that feels good. From Arsenal. And it's because, as you can see from the analysis that I showed you, everything he does is technical, because you have to be careful with young players. Sometimes there are some young players that absolutely dominate young football, because a lot of times some young players develop faster than others. So some players are taller and stronger. Others are faster. Others have a more powerful shot than goalkeepers at that age group can actually handle. And so sometimes they look amazing at youth level, but they cannot transfer that youth level form into first team football. But with Chido Obi Martin, everything he does is technical. Everything is tactical, with the way he positions himself, the movements he makes, the technique, the first touch, his close control, his dribbling ability. And all of this can definitely be transferred into first team football. Now, of course, you have to be careful. Don't overhype these young players. He needs to be given the time and space to properly develop. However, you also have to recognize when a player is good and when it's time to give him his opportunity. Sometimes when there are a lot of injuries in the first team, sometimes when the first team players are not performing, maybe that's the time to just push a youngster into the first team. And with Chido Obi Martin, there are already plenty of reports right now saying that he's involved in first team training as well. So it's clear that Jason Wilcox rates him a lot, and it's clear that Ruben Amorim also rates him a lot. Is he good enough right now to be a starter for Manchester United? I don't know. But what I know for sure is that between now and the end of the season, he's definitely going to be on the bench for certain games. He's definitely going to be involved in some capacity, or at the very least, he's going to be part of first team training in order to prepare him and get him ready for next season, because this is a gem of a player, a highly talented player. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this video analysis in the comment section. Until next time, cheers.